Hello there, shooters, collectors, history buffs, and people who left their devices unattended and it started playing random videos. Welcome to another episode of What I Found in Dad's Secret Arsenal. Today I would like to present this beautiful old Snider Enfield Cavalry Rifle. This is an old breech loader, and this particular model, this one is not a conversion rifle. A lot of the earlier ones were conversions, like I spoke about in the Zulu shotgun episode. A lot of them were earlier muskets. The British used the 1853 pattern musket to turn into these breech loaders. But this one, as I can show you here, is not one of those rifles. This one is marked with the number 3 on the barrel, which means it's a Mark III. And these guns came with the breech loading mechanism. They were manufactured that way. A couple of cool features about this gun. This is the only one with the single barrel band. This is the cavalry rifle. They also had the short rifle, the long rifle, and an artillery carbine. But those all had 2 and 3 barrel bands. This one has the shortest barrel. It's 19 and a half or 19 and a quarter inches. And it's chambered in 577 caliber. It has a very interesting sight on it. First, these screws in the side of the stock here are for a sight cover, a leather sight cover that goes over the top of the sight. And that probably went missing, I don't know, maybe 120, 130 years ago. And I guess I could make another one, but I don't really think it's necessary. I'm not really dragging it into battle. It gets stuffed in a case, and I think it'll probably be safe without it. It does have a very interesting rear sight. It actually has a very interesting front sight, too. And in typical Dad fashion, you can see that the original sight is down here, but he put some sort of adapter on there so he can have a windage adjustable brass sight that's painted in, as he always did. The rear sight here, it looked like originally it wasn't windage adjustable, but it was only adjustable for elevation. And the rear sight is very interesting because it has several different notches in it. It seems to have a notch here, a notch there, a notch here, a notch here. So we're looking at least 4 notches. It's got a ramp here that elevates the sight if you bring it up like that. But it also flips up, and I guess you also can use that as a notch to line up the front sight. Now, I have no idea how this thing is supposed to work, really. It is labeled on the top here, like it has a 4, 5, 6. I assume that's for 400, 500, 600 yards, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100% on that. If you know how that works, please put it down in the comments. I'd be interested to hear. The other thing that I noticed about this gun is it's tattooed like Dennis Rodman. It has more symbols and numbers and things stamped all over it. I really have no idea what a lot of these mean. I started to look them up, but it just got too convoluted and confusing to really... this is another one of those guns that I feel like I could spend an entire week trying to figure out the history of. On the back of the stock here has something to do with the regiment number or possibly the division or where it was used. This one says R7F10. I'll take a bunch of pictures and try and mix them in with the video to get a better idea of what we're looking at here. The lock is stamped 1870. There's a B314 on the barrel there. Let me show you how this operates. You open this up to half cock here. And it has this nice little leather pad that covers the firing pin, so the hammer isn't resting on the firing pin all the time. Otherwise it would compress that firing pin. It would probably damage the spring inside. So you leave it at half cock there, and you can press the tab, and that operates this little pin there, and you can swivel the breech block up. You know that this rifle wasn't a conversion because, like I said, it has the number 3 on the barrel there, and it also has a flat hammer. The earlier ones that were percussion rifles, I think, had like an enclosed hammer. It had like a little bit of an inset on the hammer there, I guess. It was slightly different. This one was completely flat, and it was made for this particular gun. There's a lot of interesting history with these. I mean, the earlier conversions, they started in the late 1860s, and then they started with the Mark III, I think, in probably right around 1870. So this is probably one of the early Mark III models. I have not shot this gun. I'm looking forward to doing that. I don't know when Dad got this, probably about maybe 15 or so years ago. And he mixed it in with some of his other trapdoors and other rifles that he had. So I pulled out some ammo for some of those so I can kind of give you a comparison here. This is the round that this gun takes. This is the 577 Snider. This here is 50-70, that was very common here in the States on a lot of the Springfield trapdoor rifles, among many others. And this is the 4570. And they used the 4570 and 5070 for a few years together, and then they kind of switched over to 4570 cartridge later on. They used the 4570 because it had a flatter trajectory than the 5070. And the interesting thing that I noticed is that the bullet from the Snider round is 450 grains, but the 50 caliber bullet from the 5070 is 500 grains. So I thought that was pretty strange. I didn't realize that the bullet is actually heavier in the 50 caliber round. The other thing that's very cool about this, it has a patch box in the butt plate. Let me close this up. There's a patch box here in the butt plate that had a cleaning rod kit, and I'll get a picture of that later on. These rifles were used all over the world. I don't know where this one, if it served at all, but I don't know where it was from. I'm not sure where Dad got it from, but please put it down in the comments. If you have any information on what the symbolism means or where this gun may have came from, please put it down in the comments. I think a lot of the ones we find here in North America came from Canada, apparently, but I don't know if that's where this one came from. It has a saddle ring here, a swivel saddle ring, and the emblem on the stock is probably going to be a little bit difficult to see there, but it looks like it says EM and then Enfield. But it's a really nice rifle, and it's in excellent shape. I don't know if this is the original finish on the stock. I assume it is, because I think that that stamp down here would be a difficult thing to preserve if you were redoing this stock. And I don't know if this, with the sight, I don't know if that was, maybe somebody could tell me if this was actually something that Dad made, or if this is an adapter that's common for these guns. I'm not really sure what he had going on there. All right. So I think that wraps up for the Snider Enfield. Like I said, they use these guns all over the world. And there was a saying years ago that the sun never set on the British Empire. So that being said, this is a gun that they used to preserve that empire for, well, they used it in Britain for about 15 years or so, but it still saw service in other parts of the world, much later on in India, and later on into the early 20th century, it was still being used. But I think that wraps it up for this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.